partnership, hidden. Yes, please. The recording will start now. And unlocking your potential for global impact. But before we start, let me just give you a quick brief about Zainab. Zainab has like over a decade of executive marketing and communication background, also over a decade of experience with the United Nations and International Committee of the Red Cross in the strategic partnership development. She led innovative campaigns and initiatives both on the ground and on social media. Not only that, but she's also a certified leadership and performance coach by ACT program of Brown University School of Professional and ICF, International Coaching Federation, of course. She has established and led the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs for seven in Kuwait. In terms of event and project management, she has organized a large scale, including international conferences with 64 member states, UN days and World Humanitarian Day celebrations. Also, she have been involved in many, and she has a passion about community engagement and youth empowerment. In addition to 18 years of experience of cross-cultural communication. Last but not least, also, she's a certified from Yale Konji Institute in public speaking, time management, and communication. I'm so excited to hear from you, Zainab, today. This session is going to be for about 30 to 40 minutes. Of course, if you have any question, you can drop the questions in the chat box, and Zainab will try to answer them either during the session or at the end of this webinar. Thank you all. And as you know, the recorded has been started. Thank you all. Over to you, Zainab.
Thank you. I won't be able to see the chat box. If there are any questions, anything that you would like to ask, you can bycrack it or drop it in the chat box, and then we will have some openings between each segment of the presentation. We can discuss and we can just exchange thoughts and opinions. Good evening, all. Thank you all for coming and joining us today this evening. Good morning to those who are in a different time zone. I would like to thank Dr. Mohammed Makhlouf and Coach Ghada, Coach Ghalia, everyone in ICF Kuwait chapter for organizing this and for making this possible. And I hope this webinar is fruitful for everybody and for your organizations. Today, we're going to speak about different topics. If you allow me just to share the agenda for a second. So, sorry. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Because for some reason, my screen has stopped sharing, stopped moving.
We're still in the brief bio. Maybe it's loading.
I don't think so. I apologize for this.
It's okay. Hopefully it will be okay.
You chose to show an empty one. Maybe you can reshare it. Yes.
Yes, we can see it now.
Great.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
The brief bio, yeah. It seems there is a technical issue today with but hopefully it will be okay. Go to the fourth slide. Maybe it will work. Go to the fourth slide first, Zainab. Then press slideshow. Slide 4.
It's not. It keeps going in the slide.
It's okay. Now it's appear. It's okay.
If you're out of the presentation mode and just go by the slides, that would work.
But I think it's going to appear small to you. That's okay.
That's at least something.
Even if you go to slide 4 and you press slideshow, it will not work.
I'll
Yes,
Go to slides one by one.
it's fine. Yeah, it's clear. I can see it.
It's fine.
I mean,
Even small, it's okay.
it's okay. Go ahead, Zainab.
So the agenda, we already had the brief introduction. We'll talk about leadership in general, what leadership concept means, and why leadership is important. Then we're going to have a pause for 2 to 3 minutes to have a discussion open platform. Then we'll move on to resilient partnership, and then we're going to move to uncovering hidden champions. Throughout the presentation or throughout the webinar, you'll notice some elements that are interconnected, some points that are crucial to have in every segment of the topics that we're going to discuss today. By the end of the webinar or by the end of the presentation, maybe you will pinpoint which elements are important to have as a leader or as a professional in your area. I'm going to go ahead and start. We're going to start with leadership. What do you know about leadership? What is leadership in general? Words like leadership, like management, like empowerment, like power, like stakeholders, partnership are usually vague. They're usually used in different contexts for the average person. If you want to read a book or you read a magazine, you will notice that these words are used in different contexts, in different scenarios. So for professionals who are working in different areas, will define the word leadership differently. If you go to a military, they will define leadership differently. If you go to a school, leadership would be displayed or defined differently. If you go to different places will have different definition of what leadership should look like. So for people who are consultants or people who are coaching on leadership, there was a need for a unified vocabulary, let's say an expert vocabulary of what leadership should mean. So this unified, but you see, like, for example, in a more abroad discipline, the leadership will differ. But in a more, let's say, streamlined discipline like economy, you see the economist would probably agree on terms like the relationship between consumer and revenue, or consumer and, between different disciplines, like the economist would agree on supply and demand, or on revenue. What does revenue mean? What does income mean? So they would agree on these terms. So for us, and like people who are working in more abroad or general disciplines, the terms of leadership or the term of management or the term of empowerment need to be more of an expert vocabulary. So we have Professor Ronald Heifetz from Harvard University and his colleagues. They have done a huge study on what leadership or adaptive leadership should look like. I would give you a more detailed example of what adaptive leadership should look like. So in everyday world, let's take it from a general perspective to a more narrow perspective. If you have an ongoing crisis, like the recent one that happened in LA, or if you have drought somewhere, or if you have an armed conflict, or if you have somewhere in any areas of humanitarian work. So if you have an ongoing crisis that is happening, usually the response to that is two areas. So if you want to look at a complex challenge or a complex situation, so it can, you can define it into two areas. One area should be a technical area, and the other area would be more of leadership, adaptive leadership skills, or adaptive leadership address of the issue itself. So if you take it to a more narrow area or a more narrow topic in your organization or in your team, you would have some complex issues. Like, for example, people would resist change, even though people love change in general. Change is good. People get excited when it comes to change, but usually you find some resistance. Why would that happen? To understand that, you need to know that people would appreciate their past, and then you're trying to move them from the past to the current situation or the future or the present. to the present, and then from the present to the future. So how do we do that? Like if you address some issues, some of the technical issues, which are the more complex, would require more authority, more direct approach in terms of a solution, in terms of finding remedies. But then you would have some integrated challenges that would require adaptive leadership skills. And this can apply to everything else. If you abstract it, it can apply to everything else as a theory or as an approach that you would like to use. So in leadership, usually, or as a, if you'd observe leadership for a very long time, you would know that most leadership approaches are the technical one, which they require technical skills, and they go more into the technicality of an issue without solving the adaptive leadership challenges that they have, or without using that approach. That's why the issue keeps recurring. That's why you would face resistance, and that's why you would not move forward on the long run. But people would rather get stuck in this, let's say, loop of, okay, we want to solve it, but we want to solve it now. So they give you more of a technical or a skilled approach of solving an issue. And that method would probably serve, or would probably get results in the short term, but on the long run, you would face challenges, because at the end of the day, the adaptive leadership and the complex, when it comes to a complex challenge, you have the technical and the adaptive leadership. When you put them all together, that would create, or when you approach them both in the same aspect, and you would, when you have an observation and you identify it and you say, oh, 80% of this is technical and 20% of this needs adaptive leadership, then you are solving a challenge or an issue from all perspectives and moving forward. And by that, you would guarantee a better result on the long run, but not on the short run. Unfortunately, in our world, because it's fast-paced, and you would have management pressing, or you would have people pressing management saying that we want results now and fast. And that usually creates a more of direct and more of an authoritative leadership. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it depends on the context that you are in. So if you take it from big crisis to a small managing of a team, leadership requires a form of a collaborative between the technical and between the adaptive leadership. And based on the studies that Roland Heifetz has done with his colleagues, they have came up with the word adaptive leadership. Today, we're going to learn more about it. So key features of adaptive leadership. Usually it's situational awareness. You would know the behaviors, the situation, where you at, observation, then embracing growth mindset, because you want to move forward. This is what leadership is all about. You want to move forward. You have to build a diverse network. You have to have an emotional intelligence. When you walk into a room, you have an eye contact, you would read the room, you would understand what's going on, similar to a bigger situation that you're facing, whether if it's in an organization, whether if it's on a national scale, whether if it's on even a small office. So emotional intelligence is one of the key features or key characteristics of a good leader. Knowing the well-being of who you're dealing with, how it's going to affect them, how to embrace their values, how to embrace their attachment to the past, and how to move or navigate or honor it to move forward. So you continuously adapt and evolve when it comes to leadership. If this doesn't work, the style doesn't work, you go to a different style. Then we have some of the characteristics, key leadership skills for the 21st century, which is again emotional intelligence, adaptive thinking, inclusive leadership, technology influence, and transparent communication. What does that mean? It means that we are, as humans, we have been dealing with a lot of technology recently, and the world is moving too fast. And people are becoming more and more attached to technology as they move forward. it is good to take a break and a step back as a leader to observe what's going on around you. Some people, if you have an employee that was a high performer, or if you have an employee that had an opinion about any project or task that you put on the table, and all of a sudden that employee started becoming more and more quiet, you want to investigate what's going on instead of just evaluating the performance of this employee, saying that, well, he's not performing well. You want to investigate what happened, where did that happen? Is there an external factor? Is there an internal factor? Is it motivation? Does this person need to know how to move forward, or does he need help, require? And that's where the coaching comes in. Adaptive thinking is because of the world is changing too fast. People rarely, or let's say we are more comfortable in doing the things that we know rather than accepting the change that is happening. And usually in leadership of the 21st century, they find for people to move forward or to find champions in the future, any obstacle that you're faced with, try to find an opportunity with it. That's what adaptive thinking means. It means a discussion, open discussion, seeing opportunities, risks, and how we can move forward together, as in embracing new technologies, integrating a new skill or a set of skills that we require as a team. Inclusive leadership. This is what in the beginning I was talking about, that as we move along in the presentation, you would notice some elements that are integrated or that will be mentioned in different aspects of this presentation. Inclusive leadership, or let's say decentralization of decision-making. So now the world is moving towards more of decentralization of decision-making, including more of the staff opinion, including more of the staff and strategy, and building that strategy and development, and giving their opinion of what works and what doesn't work. Technology influence, of course, technology is a huge support when it comes to leadership. And if you have an organization, or if you're an individual working on your own, or again, if it's on a national scale, technology is the future, or technology is the present that we're living in right now. Transparent communication, and this is where George Bernard Shaw said, the biggest illusion is that communication has begun when it didn't. So transparent communication is a key factor in any leadership. So if you want to have a good relationship with your team, if you want to have a good relationship with another organization or another department that you're in, it's very important to have transparent communication, the how, the why, and when are we doing this, in order for everybody to come on one page. That's in terms of leadership. I will just put in a question, and you can just have your answers, just for us to have a discussion. What specific leadership do you believe you need to develop further to navigate the complexities of the 21st century, and why? Over to you, Coach Ghada.
Yeah, please feel free if you wanna raise your hands, or you wanna put any words in the chat box, please feel free. Anyone, if anybody want to participate.
A servant leadership. Like the manager, the leadership being a servant to the people who actually have to do the work, enable them in any way you can. Instead of being the decision maker, coach them to make the decisions themselves.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah. For me, that would be servant leadership. So the leader is a servant to the people in the organization, meaning that instead of using authority and telling what to do, the decision making is being coached to the people on lower levels. Depends, of course, on the kind of decision. Very strategic and decisions with a very huge amount of money involved stays, of course, with the C-level, but anything else if you can coach the people to make their own decisions, then you are more like a servant than an authority leader.
Thank you for that. Zainab, did you hear that? Is it clear
Yes.
for you, or I can see there
Yes.
is echo? Okay.
Yes, as we mentioned, you're absolutely right. And the new method of leadership, which was the coaching method of leadership, which Henry Ford was one of the best examples for that, to coach people on how to do things rather than give them a direct or an authoritative way of doing it. But again, in each context, the leadership differs. We cannot just determine or have a cookie cutter for a leadership style that will work in one place, but it could not work in a different place. As mentioned earlier, in the army, you cannot have a coaching style all the time. You need to have more of an authoritative figure or decision-making or a direct from A to B. And then you would have, in a school, the leadership would differ. And then when you have in a context of humanitarian crisis, the leadership style would differ as well. So yes, they are servants, but the approach of how to serve these people could differ. Sometimes as in a complex challenge, as mentioned, there are two elements. There is the technical part, which is required, the technical skill, the expertise, the people who have been working in this area for a very long time, that would come in, step in, and give their opinion and give the solutions or a remedy to a challenge. And then you would have the other sector or the other segment of that. And as mentioned, it could be 80 to 20%, it could be 30 to 50 to 70%, it could be 50 to 50%. And then you would have the adaptive leadership skill or style of approaching things. So leadership cannot be a cookie cutter. Leadership is more of emotional intelligence. It's a bundle of things that approaches the challenge or an issue itself. I hope that answers your question or your.
And there is 2 comments also in the chat box from Dr. Muhammad. I think we need to improve the emotional intelligence, EQ, of course. And Sodeb, I don't know if I pronounce your name correctly, adaptability and continuous learning, of course, giving the fast pace of change in almost every area of work and life.
That is correct. Emotional intelligence is very important. I mean, every study that you see and every approach right now, or the trend that is happening right now, is bringing back the emotional intelligence, because we have been distanced for so long. I think after COVID, everybody has been isolated, everybody has been using technology more often. The emotional intelligence aspect needs to be brought back in again, or highlighted, let's say. Adaptability, of course, so it keeps changing, the world keeps changing as fast as possible. So to be adaptable to those changes requires a skill as well, or training to know when to seize the opportunity or when to stop and say, let's evaluate or let's take a step back. Yes.
So the answer is, or the key answer here is coaching. I remember when I did one study recently, they said coaching will help to improve or to boost the emotional intelligence and also adaptability, learning. So that's why there is a clear link, as you said, between leadership and coaching, which is crucial nowadays. I think also there is my reference, Andre, he said my reference for servant leadership is an IT software development environment using scaled agile. With that, the 10 minutes video of David, and I think he already shared with us a video for David Marcu, military, is very interesting. Oh, interesting. And maybe after this session we can
Thank you, Andre.
watch this video. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And yes, all depends on the situation. Absolutely. Over to you, Zainab.
Shall we move to the second part?
Yes, please.
Resilient
Any questions so far? Sorry. Anyone have any question, or shall we go on? Please go ahead.
So resilient partnerships. Every day that we wake up, we make a partnership. or we maintain the existing ones that we have, whether if it's a partnership at home, whether if you leave outside the house, your neighbors, you go to the supermarket, there is a partnership or some sort of a partnership that you have in a different definition. But again, partnership is one of those vague vocabularies that people need to agree on. So in each organization, partnership is defined differently. It depends on how you want to define partnership or in the context that serves your benefits. So you define the partnership in that area. To have a resilient partnership, you need to have key factors, or let's say elements, to do this, to have a resilient partnership that could go a long way. You need to have a shared vision or goal. Again, trust and transparency when it comes to communication, when it comes to exchange of information. Diverse, strength, and mutual benefit. So if one partner has a strong aspect or a strong skill, you tap on that or you complement that with whatever strength that you have, and it will benefit both of you. Cultural diversity, to understand the partnership or to understand the need of the market or to understand the need of, as an individual, you need to have a diverse information or a diverse input. So the more people you have around you that from diverse backgrounds, the better you would have an understanding of how to operate or move forward when it comes to your business, when it comes to your organization, when it comes to your team, when it comes to your day-to-day life. Effective communication, adaptability, and accountability. These are what makes the partnership resilient in general. Now, let's talk more about resilient partnership to the path of success. For example, when you first introduced yourself, everybody said that I'm from Asia, I'm from Europe, I'm from the States, from different areas of the world. Each area of the world has different context, and to understand that context, you need to do a more of an analytical view or approach in understanding how your partnership operates. But today we're going to talk about Kuwait or the GCC in general. Even if you take GCC countries, Saudi Arabia operates differently in terms of partnership or in terms of forming partnerships. UAE works differently with partnerships. It's more of a centralized way of doing partnership, or it's different. Kuwait is different. Bahrain is different. Qatar is different. So each country has a different way of forming partnerships. Today's example is Kuwait. To understand the country context, Kuwait is more of an integrated or interlinked, not community, I would say interlinked country. So if you have one partner that owns a business, this partner could be wearing different hats. This partner could be married to somebody who has a different business that could serve you. And the person that he's married to is related to somebody who is in the government or an authority figure. So it's more of an interlinked relationship in Kuwait context. So understanding the profile of a country would serve to map your partnership or how to create those partnerships. For the second item of approaching partnerships or creating resilient partnerships is to understand when to approach this partnership. Sometimes approaching a partnership before the annual budget, like the annual budgeting, is a good time to approach them, because then they will know that, okay, we have a need. This person is coming to create a partnership with us or our institution or our organization. How can we deduct from that budget and put it to this partner? So then you will be creating a partnership. Or for example, in Kuwait context, approaching them during the holy month of Ramadan would delay some of the work that you have. Or approaching them by the end of the year in terms of globally, which is the holiday seasons, would delay some of the partnership aspects that you're trying to form. So the timing is everything. You need to understand first the context that you're approaching, the timing. Then you need to build an aligned goal with them. So if you are searching about a company or an organization that you want to align with, You need to search about their goals, their vision, and what they're moving towards. You could sense it from their reports, you can sense it from their press conferences, media, or whatever they're posting. So to sense that, then you would align it with your goals and strategies of your either individual or organization or a team that you have, then build around it. How can we use their goals and our goals into something more meaningful, whether if it's a program, whether if it's an event, whether if it's a strategy that you want to build to whatever your goal is. I'll give you an example. When I worked in the UN, there was a calendar. The calendar had different international days of events. So these different international days of events were a clue for us to approach partners and see or identify or map these partners. So in order for us to map that partner, we would say, for example, I would like to take this International Education Day. And from that day, I would say I would take some schools, Ministry of Education, some people who might be interested, like philanthropists or NGOs that might be interested in education. I'll bring the names all together. Then I would say, these are my traditional partners. These are the people that I'm going to work with on 1, 2, and 3. And this will serve my goal or my vision of, let's say, SDG, like the Sustainable Development Goals of, I don't know, like 1 or 2 or 3. Then you align that. When you look at that, then you would say, okay, but I want technology in. Technology would serve my project. Then you would go and find the non-traditional partners that you don't usually think of immediately. And that would be the sponsors that you would have. In Kuwait, we have a place called Excite by a family called Al Ghanem. So when you approach Excite by Al Ghanem, you know that Al Ghanem used to be the parliament speaker formerly. So you would form these alliances and you would map them into a paper that would make it clear to you. That was just one example of one person that could serve the education purpose. So to have that, you need to align your goals, you need to map your partners, and then they don't mean necessarily a partnership that is external. It could be a partnership that is internal. I am working in IT. I would like to form a partnership with marketing. Based on what? What is my strategy? Or I work in marketing and I need to report to ESG in terms of the events that we're doing. The ESG is the environmental, social, and governance reports that they need to do in an organization. So how can we do that? That's how you ask yourself all these questions, and then you build around these questions, and then you form the mapping for the partnerships that you would have. I'd give you an example, or we'll go into more details. So the stakeholder mapping. So this is recommended to do annually for your organization or for yourself as an individual, if you want to do it, and if we want to point out which partner that you want to have by this year. Why are you conducting this exercise? So the objective of this exercise, will it support my objective in building more a clientele platform or network or database? Or will it help me in sponsorship? Or will it help me in exposure? Or will it help me more into building around events that I'm going to have? So answer these questions, see what your objective is, then move to the next question. So what is a stakeholder or a partnership analysis? What is that? Who is my partner? As I said in the beginning, that partners are different from one place to another, from one organization to another, from one individual to another. You would define partnership differently. So it's good with your team, if you have a team, to sit and identify who our partners are. Who do we consider partners? Who do we consider stakeholders? And that kind of analysis that you do would put all the team on the same table for you to move forward, rather than each person has a different view of what stakeholder is. To have a unified identification or a unified definition of what stakeholder means within your team or within your organization or within your principals or superiors, that would help you move forward, because each organization would have a different meaning of a stakeholder. Each department would have a different meaning of a stakeholder. So to unify that would help you move forward easily. Who do we consider a stakeholder? in that sense? Do we consider schools a stakeholder? Do we consider hospitals stakeholder? Do we consider the government stakeholder? Who do we consider as a stakeholder? You need to just lay them out. What do we mean by direct or indirect influence? Again, we're speaking of the context of Kuwait, and this usually applies to the context of Kuwait. I don't know if it applies elsewhere, but maybe this will benefit if the similarities are more to Kuwait context. So if it influences directly, so basically if I'm working with a stakeholder, does that stakeholder influence my decision directly? Or does that have an indirect influence? If I am dealing with them and they will become my partners, will they work with me jointly? Or would that indirectly affect what I am doing? So it's not a risk, it's not a threat, or it's more of what they are affiliated with, or who are they related to, or what kind of hats they're wearing. If they're wearing a business hat, or if they're wearing a leadership hat, or if they're wearing a coach hat, or if they, so what kind of influence would that have on my organization or on the partnership that I'm trying to form or build? Who are we? Then you put the name of your organization. Who are our key stakeholders, the existing ones that you have, the traditional ones that we mentioned earlier. You put them there. And then from there, you would move based on each project for the non-traditional stakeholders or players or influencers that you have. Once these questions are answered, then you could form your, let's say, Excel sheet with the name of the organization, the affiliation of this organization, the influence, whether if it's on environment, whether if it's on technology, whether if it's on education, entertainment, then the beneficial areas that you have with them. Is it going to fund? Is it going to do a program? Is it going to lend us their venue? Is it going to do advocacy for us, direct advocacy or indirect advocacy? Is it going to sponsor our events? Then the type of existing partnership that I have with them. Do I have an agreement with them? Do I do this annually with them? Are they, are they shareholders? What do they do? So just if you clear that out, then it will help you move forward. So this is recommended to do annually in order for you to build a resilient partnership and then take it from there. So towards the end of this segment, I would like to ask, what's the key ingredient of a successful partnership in your experience? Over to you, Coach Ghada.
Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box or any comments or your answer. Or if you would like to share with us, you can just unmute your mic and join us, please. It's almost 8 now p.m. I don't know how long does it need to finish, Zainab, just to let them know.
We have just the last part. It's the exciting one. I have a surprise in it.
Okay, so around 20 minutes, let's say 15 minutes.
Yes, less.
Oh, okay. So just to let you know that we still have around 15 minutes. We apologize for this delay. It was just a technical issue at the beginning. So anyone would like to join us and say something or to answer this question? Or if you have any comment up to now? Feel free even to drop your comments or any answer in the chat box if you are interested. Okay, I think there is.
Okay. It says.
Can you repeat the question? Okay, can you go back to the previous slide, please? It will be easier for them to see the questions. Common goals, and I guess it would be okay to agree that you disagree.
What's the key ingredient of a successful partnership in your
Not agree. Mutual skin in the game. Feel free to unmute your mic and join us if anybody interested to share anything. No? Okay, I think we can continue. Communication with all partners. Thank you, Fam. Shared value and vision. Thank you, Kirat. Any more answers?
Batul said the key ingredient is understanding the culture and mind of people who deal with it.
Yes, I skipped this one. Thank you.
And I believe, yes, culture is very important. Also, personalization of a relationship with a partner is extremely important. To personalize your relationship with them, to show them your face, build that trust.
Also consider the difference between generations. Andre, thank you. Okay, thank you all for your sharing and your answers. Over to you, Zainab.
All right, so let's move to uncovering hidden champions. So what does the term hidden champion refer to? They typically refer to small and medium enterprises who are leaders in their niche market and have a low visibility to the public, but are highly influential within their industries. But it can also mean individuals with untapped potential. But what does that mean? So basically, each organization is built on what? It's not built on the building itself. It's not built on the strategies that they have. It's built on the people. And we have an example from Starbucks owner who said that we first build our people, not with the consumer, because we believe the best way to meet and exceed the expectation of our customers was to hire and train great people and invest in employees. So basically, this is it. It's the people behind everything. They are the hidden champions. However, 30 years ago, we have So 30 years ago, Professor Simon coined the term hidden champion, which again refers to mainly small and medium enterprises, as he noticed that these people they've escaped the media, they've escaped visibility, they've escaped everything, but they are sometimes feared, sometimes respected in their own industry or in their own line of work. So in order for us to understand this, in 2019, an article was put in Forbes that discussed the hidden champion of small and medium enterprises, which were back then, it was about 2,700 hidden champions of small and medium enterprises in the global market. And they were mainly German. So it got the attention of Professor Herman. And he said, I want to study more and see what are the characteristics of these hidden champions. So he dug deep, he dug deep and he dived in to see what the hidden champion characteristics are. And he noticed that they are more of, we'll break it down again to identify hidden champions into sectors. Again, the hidden champions, we'll go into the characteristics later, sorry, but the hidden champions usually can be identified on a national scale. If it's on a national scale, you can identify these hidden champions through data collection or through consultations that you create with different small and medium enterprises or different groups in order for you to know who the hidden champion is or to identify that person, to build your partnership from them. Or through analyzing the current situation, trends, and needs. What do we need? And is there a market for it? And is there a small and medium enterprise? Or if there is a company or an individual or an organization that can provide that need that we have? Then through partnership mapping, which I've explained earlier, or through analyzing the risks and opportunities of partnering with such small and medium enterprises. How does it affect us and how doesn't? Just like it was explained in the partnership segment. Now we move to the characteristics of the hidden champion. They're usually a niche specialization. They're very narrow specialization. I'll give you an example. One of the hidden champions that was identified in the market is a small and medium enterprises that specialized in creating zippers for bags, for clothes. So they're specialized in zippers, but they present high quality and they're very dynamic. And their customer orientation, which means they focus on the customers. They have a global mindset of the global need that is happening. And they have strong leadership, which basically right now in our modern day, they are taking these strategies to implement them into bigger organizations, especially on how to run a small business or how to run this particular sector, because they're very narrow and they're very specialized. So these are the characteristics of a hidden champion. That's how you can identify a small and medium enterprise. But when it comes to an individual, how do we identify the characteristics of an individual who is a hidden champion? So you're basically sitting within your team as a leader or within your department, and you see a person that has these characteristics, you know that he has an untapped potential that you can use or you can identify. Then you would result to coaching, then you would bring them in to explore how you can move forward. So they're usually resilient, they're specialized, they have a specialized expertise, their commitment to excellence, they only provide good quality products, whether if it's reports, whether if it's the way they present themselves. They have an innovative mindset, they have a collaborative spirit. They're very low profile, but they have high impact. So you don't recognize that they're there. I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying, but you don't recognize that they're there per se. Every day they're quiet, but when they're not there, you realize that no, they did have an impact and their impact is huge. And usually that impact doesn't show immediately. It shows after a while of them not being there. So they have strong values and ethics, and they have empathy. Again, emotional intelligence. They have empathy with other people. They try to help and they try to support. So examples of partnerships with hidden champions. We have I don't know if you know them. They're called Coldplay. They're very famous, a band, English band. In 2019, the band has promised that they're not going to do any more concerts until they make it more sustainable. So their goal and target was to be more sustainable in making concerts. Recently, in their recent tour that they've done, they have achieved that goal that they put back in 2009, and they have revolutionized the entertainment industry by collaborating with small, medium enterprises, people that you don't know or hear about, like ocean cleanup, one tree at a time. They've collaborated with DHL, they've collaborated with many organizations to make their concerts sustainable. In terms of what? They've cleaned the oceans of Malaysia, and that plastic that they collected from the oceans, they have recycled it into CDs or desks that they can give or they can sell. Every ticket that they're selling for their concert is planting. For every ticket that they're selling, they're planting one tree in Ecuador. And they're also, they have water dispensers, they're promoting water dispensers rather than buying your own plastic bottle. They have kinetic floors for people who are dancing or jumping to create energy for their show, for their next show. They store it in batteries and then they use it. They have solar panels that generates energy for their show. So their show is 100% green energy or eco energy, which is very impressive. And one of the hidden champions that they collaborated with was the ocean cleanup, which is a huge project they're doing. Another one is Zara. You know Zara, everybody knows Zara, and I bet you everybody has an item that they bought from Zara. But the owner of Zara is someone who is very low profile. We don't know who he is. We don't know what he's done, but he is the one who revolutionized the fashion industry by making it fast-paced and collaborating not collaborating, but he's the one who created that sense of trend and accessible fashion to everybody. In the fashion industry. What did his empire rely on, and what did Coldplay's empire rely on? They both relied on the feedback from customers and the trends that are happening. So for Zara, for example, for each country, they customize different clothes that are fit for the country or the culture that they're in. Then they decentralize the decision-making by taking the decision directly from their employee. They have a hotline that responds to their employees on what the trends are, what do they need to do, and they're really quick in response. So one of the things that Zara did is basically they revolutionized the industry. So this is considered a hidden champion, and they have collaborated with different small and medium enterprises to produce their eco-friendly clothes, their products or their lines that they're doing, the printing the image. So the ink that they're using is different. So these are small hidden champions that these big companies or big entertainment industries are collaborating with. Recently, we've witnessed Khaliji 26 in Kuwait. What do you think the success for Khaliji 26 is? It wasn't just centralized to one sponsor. It was just, if you looked on one of the matches, you would see these people popping up and saying, not people, the logos of companies popping up, like Talabat. Then you would have Bahrain is doing that. But what was the reason behind the success of this Khaliji in particular is because the GCC came together having a decentralized decision making. And each country started doing something to promote this together. So they came together. So you have these different hidden champions if you dig deeper. Now, let's bring it back to local, something more something more close to home. I'm very passionate about empowering youth. I'm very passionate about technology, about arts. So I have a 15-year-old daughter. I've asked her to create a small video that I would like to share with you. To explain, I'll just give you a little bit of context about the video. One time, I just came up with an idea and I wanted to see how I can bring in people together and put different people together to serve the community. So this video hopefully explains how this process happened, like the mental image that I had, the idea that I had, and how it got implemented, and how it started and how it became bigger. So I hope you enjoy this video. And then we'll move into a question and then discussion. That's the last part.
How can I bring different people together? I know the Australian college has an excellent engineering curriculum, but what can I do about it? Let's see if they can build a solar. How can I bring different people? How can I bring different people together? I know the Australian college has an excellent engineering curriculum, but what can I do about it? Let's see if they can build a solar panel golf cart that can serve one of the Sustainable Development Goals. Goal 13, Climate Action.
A few months later, in many meetings,
The Australian University agrees to integrate the idea into their mechanical and electrical engineering department curriculum, making the first term the theory to discussing the size and the purpose of the cart and where to get the materials, and the second term for practical and building the product.
1 year later,
Where can we use this product? What about the healthy cities in the Ministry of Health? Yes, it worked out. And the product was bought by the coordinator of a Shamia park for the purpose of gardening. This idea grew into a yearly collaboration with the Healthy Cities and the University as an initiative from the community to the community, bringing together the following hidden champions: students and professors from the Australian University, material providers from local and medium enterprises, from Polywood to solar panels, Healthy Cities Shamia, Di'iyya, Dahiyat Abdullah Salim, Al Yarmouk, and the governor of a Shamia city, creating what we call a circular economy by reducing the original cost from 7,800 KD to less than 2,000 KD.
thank you.
And I would say this was sponsored by the United Nations World Health Organization office as well. So they were the ones who were facilitating that collaboration as well. So we move to the last question. Who in your team or network has untapped potential, and how can you support them into bringing that potential out?
Thank you so much for this video. I really enjoy it. So anyone would like to join us and to share something or answer the questions? If you can go back to the questions so it will be clear for everyone. Please, Zainab.
Sure.
Thank you. If you have any comments, you want to share something, or even if you can, if you like to drop your answer in the chat box also, feel free. Thank you.
Yes, that when you have a good partnership first, then you can actually discuss what wishes people have, what things they would like to work on that they don't do now. And then put them in such a position that they can actually do that. So they can grow in that area and show themselves. So help them to give them opportunities to grow in new areas or exploit the things they actually know and can do.
Thank you, Andre, for sharing. Anyone else? Please feel free either join us or to write in the chat box, please. I think because we are a bit behind the time. Any comments? Okay, it's over to you, Zainab.
Thank you so much. I think this is everything that I needed to share with you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more questions, we can take that after the webinar. We can communicate with each other or through Ghada, Coach Ghada, or through the ICF Kuwait chapter. We can always stay in touch and communicate. But before you go, please take a moment to scan and evaluate this webinar. It will take you only a second or two.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Zainab, for this presentation. And thank you all for your patience for this technical and delay at the beginning. First time to happen. So we are so sorry about this delay, but we really appreciate your time and being with us till the end. It was a pleasure. Will you send us? Yes. The certificate will be sent within a week from today, hopefully within a couple of days actually, but let's say within a week you will receive the certificate to all the emails that you already included. It was a pleasure, and please feel free to join us in the ICF chapter in Instagram. If you have any questions, we're always here to help. Zainab also is available. It's a pleasure. And I was really excited at the beginning when I can see many people coming from Europe, from US, from Asia, from the Middle East. So again, the world is a small village and we are all connected. Pleasure. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you again, Zainab.
Thank you all for